And we're back on a Monday night late night, folks. We apologize for the end of our early bird show earlier tonight. I am telling you, folks, we are under extreme warfare in this studio right here. We've had all this mess go on Sunday morning with the computer just blinking out twice. And tonight, it wasn't just the computer. The whole room went dark. And walked out, and the wife's sitting in the living room. She said the lights didn't on in here, so we had a breaker surge in this part of the house. Now, the chances of that happening about 1 in a million, so the devil did not want me to finish my statement, but I will tonight at the end of this show, because we got the one and only Leslie Millwee with us on a late night Monday, like we always do, try to on Monday night. Buddy, it's so good to see you. I hope we can get through this without any adventure, but, you know, it is the McFiles. It is me, so I'm not sure if that's gonna happen or not, but, you know, we'll give it our Boy Scout try, Millwee. We'll give it the Boy Scout try.
Absolutely. We'll make it. We're going to do this.
We'll make it. I put the cowboy hat on to, war with the demons or whatever tonight. But it's good to see you tonight. A couple of breaking news stories I want to run by you. The big thing is the Graham Platner up in Maine seems to be headed out the door. The Democrats have pulled funding on him tonight. There's been a rape allegation that has surfaced of a woman that he dated back in 21, and how this allegation, I guess, didn't come to the front until now. It remains to be seen. These Democrats, I tell you, Leslie, they always eat themselves. And, you know, this hits home because, again, for folks that don't know Leslie's story, Leslie was probably the unknown woman in Bill Clinton's line of attempted events like this with Juanita Broderick and Kathleen Wiley and others. So you see these public officials like this, you know, all these Democrats support him, and we're going to show a lot of video later about this. I think that the Democrats need to own this. I think every politician out there that basically propped him up, and they probably knew this, Leslie. I believe many of them knew it. They didn't care. They were so bent on stealing that Maine seat from Susan Collins, they were willing to put a Nazi rapist communist in power and not even blink. And we should not forget that. And if it does nothing, it should inspire every single individual listening to me tonight to get to them polls in November, and you pull the lever for the R.
That's right. I mean, you and I were talking earlier, you know, you don't have to love some of these people. Susan Collins, of course, being in Maine, she does buck the system a lot. She does, you know, cause a lot of infighting at times on bills. But usually when it comes down to it, she will side with the Republicans most times. So, you know, you have an unperfect situation with, you know, that's the best outcome we can hope for, period. So we have to be happy with that and just pray that he is out of the race by this time tomorrow, because he is a rapist, he is a Nazi, he's a socialist, he's a communist. I mean, obviously, he's a huge womanizer. I mean, I've heard these stories of people, women that have dated him. I mean, he's just a despicable human being. I can't believe. We'll see how long his marriage lasts after this little event, too. But I'd be surprised.
If he did, the only thing I've got to say about that is this. I'm talking about on the personal level, not the political level.
Right.
If that's the case in 21, why was it not known then? Why was it not prosecuted then? That's the only thing about these allegations sometimes that surface 5-6 years later. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. The Democrats sacrificed Eric Swalwell because he became a liability.
Right.
And it was always known around D.C. that Swalwell was the same kind of dirtbag.
Yes.
They knew good and well Eric Swalwell had skeletons in his closet, but because he hated Trump, because he was always on the TV calling for Trump's impeachment, calling for Trump's arrest, bragging about Trump going down, saying the things he said, vile things. I'm not just talking about disagreement with Trump, but Platner's been the same way. And all these Democrats see this is what disgusts us out here in the public with these politicians. If he's a scumbag 5 years ago, and you know it, and even this year when they put him up on that ticket against Susan Collins, you cannot tell me that the Democrat Party did not vet this man and know about these allegations that's not that long ago. This ain't like it's coming up, 20 years ago, and they can just blow this off. And I'm wondering if he's being sacrificed tonight and who they're going to throw in here at the last minute, because technically right now, other than Janet Mills, they've got nobody. You can't just insert a candidate on the ballot now because the primary's over, correct?
Correct. I unless they had held a special election, but I don't think they
would
qualify for that.
No, you can't do that.
They're going to have to go Janet Mills. I mean, they don't really have a lot of choice, do they? I mean, she's on the ballot still, correct? She was. Yes,
she's still on the ballot.
Candidate on the ballot. So she is their one and only person that they could really use. As far as the scumball thing, you're right. You would think these people weren't vetted. And I know about vetting because I went through incredible vetting whenever I came forward about Clinton in 2016. I mean, it took weeks and weeks. They wanted every bit of information. Where was I married? How long had I been married? How many kids did I have? What did I do here? I mean, everything. So I imagine that was 10 years ago. There must be a huge ability to garner this information. This woman came forward 2 years ago as an anonymous victim.
Yes.
So you can't tell me they didn't know who that was. He knew who it was. If they did ask him about it, I mean, he would be aware of that. I think they're going to come out of the woodwork. Once a scumball, always a scumball. Look at Clinton. He didn't stop with 1 or 2 or 10. I don't think this guy did either.
But the thing with Clinton, though, it only surfaced while he was president. He was already in power. Graham Platner claims he's an oyster farmer. And my question to you tonight, and I don't know if me and you know the answer to this, is why would they sacrifice him now? Why didn't they do this before the primary? Leslie, that man got 70. I remember being the night that he got 72%. I was, Kathy and I were getting ready to go to bed. I looked at her and I said, can you believe this? That 72% of Maine Democrats are going to put this clown, which is he was as I said, a scumbag a month or two ago, and these and what burns me up tonight is people like Ro Bahana and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and all of these Dems on television. You basically now just running like rabid dogs, like oh, we didn't know about this, and we can't even support this, and we're going to have to go another direction. And Fetterman's out there tonight saying what everybody needs to say. They need to be held accountable, just as Graham Platner was, because they were willing to allow that individual to represent Maine. But what does it say about Maine tonight? What does it say about our states? 70% is not a low number, Les. That's 7 out of 10 people in Maine said he's okay.
Well, I'm thinking the only way I can understand that is to look at the Trump voters, and when all these untruths and lies and schemes were coming out, you and I got to the point where we said, we call bull on that. That is not correct. That is not true. And I wonder if Democrats up there are so desperate to get that seat. They're so desperate for Collins to be out. Maybe that's the attitude they took. Well, now we knew it was a lie. Maybe they're assuming that. Maybe we give these people too much credit. I mean, this does not take a rocket scientist to figure him out. I knew from the second I saw him.
But you know what I think's happening? Again, my question to you is why now? Why sacrifice him now? They could have done this earlier. And it makes you wonder, what they're thinking. If there's internal polling that shows something that she was going to blitz him, like she was going to get 70-20 in the general, I don't think Janet Mills is going to gender any more than he would. And you know what happens tonight? The whole shift of the Senate changes because the landscape now, because we got Georgia in play, we got Maine in play now, Michigan is in play. You got a rabid Islamic jihadist running against Mike Rogers in Michigan. And we have a chance to turn 3 seats that are not Republican right now. And again, Collins, I say it's not Republican. For the balance of power, it's better to have a bad Republican. I've always said this. It's better to have a bad Republican than a good Democrat. Amen. Simply because of the balance of power, because the majority party holds sway over those committees. And, you know, Trump has always understood Collins. He's never criticized her publicly.
No.
Now, he's criticized Murkowski, and Murkowski is gone. I think that she is absolutely in trouble. And it leads me to my next subject tonight, because there are rumors out there, and I want to make it clear what we're not reporting this as fact. I want to make it abundantly clear, because there's going to be some individual out there that's going to say, well, Chris McDonald said that Mitch McConnell was dead, and we're not saying that. But we are saying that an hour ago, David Harris Jr. was told by Laura Loomer, and you can think what you want to of Laura Loomer. I'll put it like this. Laura's getting on somebody's skin because she was found out that her name was on an Iranian hit list along with President Trump's. So she's getting the attention of somebody out there. Well, Laura Loomer's reporting tonight that there are sources in the White House that have confided in her that Mitch McConnell is dead. He's gone. He's been in the hospital for 3 weeks. It was reported on June the 14th, 3 weeks ago, that he fell and was in a coma. He's been in a coma since June 14th. Have you heard the same thing? Because David Harris is not he's not some crazy out there. He's a very conservative kind of guy.
Yeah. For him to say that and cite his sources, Laura Loomer, I've always, I have kind of a love-hate relationship sometimes with Laura Loomer. I think she sounds crazy sometimes, and sometimes she makes all the sense in the world, and maybe that's all of us. I don't know. She has the platform. I don't know that would be reported by Harris or Loomer if it were not something that they could confirm. That was my first inclination. Now, do rumors get started? Are there people in the White House that drop lies all the time? Of course. So I do know he was in a coma. I do believe that is correct. I think they may have pulled the plug on him. I think he may have had a stroke or something. He has zero brain activity, and they finally pulled the plug on him. And if that would not surprise me.
And again, we don't know this for a fact, but let me just back up to what you just said about him being in a coma. What is it about Congress? They did this with Dianne Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein was on her deathbed when she left Congress, Leslie. And this burns me up. Why is Congress so feckless? If I'm John Thune tonight, and I was the Senate Majority Leader, and I had a member of my party that was on his deathbed, I'm going to him and saying, you need to get out. It's time for you to resign.
That's right.
Of course. You need to have a special election in Kentucky, another Republican take his place. Massey and him both, thank God, are gone. Look, I don't wish him harm. I'm not saying that in the physical sense about Mitch. But he was going to leave Congress anyway in January. And I've got some spiritual things I'd like to say, but I'm holding them back right now. Mitch McConnell did more to damage this country over the last 6 months than probably any member of Congress. And by the way, let us not forget, he is the one that pushed Amy Coney Barrett on Trump.
Yes.
He is the one that went to Trump and said, you have got to nominate Barrett. You've got, knowing good and well, from what I understand from sources and people that in the know, that's higher than me, that he knew all along this lady was no conservative, even though she paraded as one. She was Catholic, yes. She was pro-life, at least outwardly she was. But Leslie, every ruling that she's made from that bench has been against women. It's been against everything that she claims she stands for. Mitch McConnell knew that. And he's
Of
the
course.
one that pushed her on Trump.
Well, he hated whatever the case may be, Trump to the nth degree. I think his whole modus operandi this last year has just been burn everything I can down to
That's
the
it.
ground.
Well, I'll tell you what,
And
he ain't burning it no more. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no. So, it has to come out soon, you would think, if this has happened. Being around the healthcare, knowing what I know, I'm thinking, if this man's been in a coma for a couple of weeks, how long do they leave that? You don't just indefinitely leave somebody that's brain dead in a coma. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. What's really going on here? So I'm figuring with nothing coming from him, no real communication, he's probably in a vegetative state, and we're never going to hear from him again.
Well, with Washington, D.C., they do. They leave everybody in brain dead comas. And, I think there needs to be some kind of law. And, of course, good luck with that. We can't even get Congress to pass a law that the sky is blue. But there needs to be some kind of Senate rule and some kind of rule in the House even that if a member of Congress is incapacitated, they are not allowed to vote. And their vote does not count. And this is what burns me to the core with Thune and all of these Republicans, Hawley, all of them, all these fake conservatives. Trump. The Senate goes on recess 2 weeks ago at a time that they needed to pass the Save American Act. Thune leaves a sketch crew in there. You know why he left him there? To make sure Trump didn't make any recess appointments. While every time that any president in the past has done it, there's been no resistance from the Republicans when Biden did it. But when Trump's in office, his own party betrays him, Leslie.
I know.
This is why we hate politicians. I'm telling you.
It is. Yeah. Bill, my husband has a theory. He says that you should never elect a lawyer as a politician. And, we think they're so great because they know the law. Do they really know the law, or do they know how to manipulate the law to suit themselves and their situation? So I'm leaning into that much heavier than I used to. He's been saying that forever, and I have to strongly agree with him at this point.
I'll say amen to that. And what's the old joke? What's 20,000 lawyers and 20,000 politicians at the bottom of a river? A good start. A good start.
Exactly.
It's exactly how I feel tonight. No, but it is sad. And look, and again, this is no disrespect to Mr. McConnell and his family. We're not trying to lessen that. But I'm going to tell you this, Leslie. There's a spiritual component to this. And I've watched this man over the last month go downhill so quick. Not that he was ever in great health anyway this year. And let's talk about his wife, Chu, the former.
Yeah.
And where was she in all this? She saw her husband going down. Why didn't she step in and say, "Mitch, it's time for you to take a step away, bud. It's time for you to resign." She's another Jill Biden. She's another Jill Biden.
Enabled. Yeah, she totally enabled it because she wants the power. She's been in powerful positions before, and that's what she wants to continue. It's just like Joe Biden. They are so selfish for their own desires that the country, we don't care if you let down 320 or 40 million Americans. We want you to, we want to suck that as long as we can. We are power hungry idiots. So yeah, I don't think he's probably been right for 2 years.
I'll agree with
when
that.
When I say right, making decisions in a thoughtful and intelligent way. I mean, there have been times when I watched him stand up there, and I'm telling you, it was like Biden. There's no one there. Hello? It's like a facade. So I have to believe that that's what we were dealing with. Why Trump wasn't more vocal? I don't know. That would be my question. Why didn't Trump intervene? Why didn't he say something?
Well, that is $1 million question. Trump has been very quiet about a lot of things. He's tried not to publicly call for Thune's removal, even though it's got to be a thorn in his flesh. He's got to know what Thune's doing. This Mitch McConnell thing has gone on too long. And I think Trump's attention's been with Iran and Israel. And perhaps, I think what Trump, this is my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion. I think that Trump is hoping and praying that he can just get past November. Because Leslie, I told Ricky Wilson this earlier tonight. Look, there's a scene in my favorite movie, Tombstone, that Wyatt Earp had enough. That. And he had one of the cowboys down on the ground, Ike Clanton. And he said, Ike, he said, you wanted the thunder, you wanted this, you've called down the thunder, and now it's the thunder you've got. And he said, you tell every cowboy that I see, if he's wearing a red sash, I'm killing the cowboy that's wearing it. And he said, you tell them that hell's coming, and I'm coming with it. Or I'm coming and hell's coming with me, to that degree. But let me tell you what I feel. I feel Trump is not released and unleashed hell itself yet, fully, as to what's coming in January of 27, if he keeps that House and he keeps that Senate, because I feel like if we do keep the Senate, Thune's gone. I think if we keep the House, I think Johnson's going to get the message. If you don't get some kahunas and start passing this crap into law, you're gone. Because I think Trump will consolidate power, and I think it's for the good of the country. He's going to do some things for the good of the country that needs to be done. He ain't got nothing to lose as it is.
No,
he gets the last 2 years in power, buddy. I'm telling you, hell's coming, and Trump's coming with it, and he's coming on these Dems, and these Dems may not win another election for 70 years. Because he will see to it that filibuster's knocked down. He will see to it that Thune's gone. He will see to it the Save American Act is passed. But he's got to win that Senate, and he's got to win that House. And our chances are going up by the day with these Dems imploding.
If you had asked me, and you did 3 months ago, I was not as hopeful. And with Platner going down today, that is a huge nail in their coffin. I hope they continue to make idiots of themselves. I applaud Fetterman for stepping forward, for being on Ingram, for being on Fox and Friends and saying, look, this guy's got to go. This guy is a scumbag. That is so refreshing to hear a Democrat call out bad.
Well, what about Hakeem Jeffries?
So good.
What about Hakeem Jeffries? He wouldn't even condemn him. And Warren and Bernie were up there campaigning for him. Ro Bahana is the biggest hypocrite in the universe. He was on Jake Tapper in June of 26 saying, well, we can handle all these allegations because there's none of them that involve violence. There's none of them that were, he said, it was toxic behavior, but there was no violence to it. And now tonight, Ro said, well, I got to withdraw my thing. But back in June, after he did that interview with Jake Tapper, he ran to Maine to campaign with him. And Bernie campaigned with him. Elizabeth Warren campaigned with him. Debbie Dingell of Missouri campaigned with him. Every single one of these despicable Dems, everyone that did that, they need to resign tonight. They're not going to. But if they had any class and any character, they would be absolutely run out of Congress on a stick. Our founding fathers would not put up with this, Leslie. I'm telling you, our founding fathers would not have put up with this.
We have a different moral code, a different ethic code than these people do. Their code is we will win at all costs. We will not. We will overlook bad. We will do whatever we have to do to get in power to get X, Y, and Z. And it's probably something different every time. I mean, overall, it blows me away when I hear these kids talk about, what was it, 63% of kids 20 to 30 said they would like to try socialism and they think it's a good thing. Are they even intelligent enough? Have they even done any research that didn't pop up on their TikTok that tells them what socialism is?
No.
You know?
They didn't. No, they haven't.
They have no clue about what reality is. They still live with mom and daddy. They can still work at Starbucks for $12 an hour because they really only need to make a couple of $100s a month to buy their weed and hang out in the basement. I mean, that's not all of them. That's not fair to everybody. I shouldn't say that. I'm generalizing, and that's not fair. But there is a big majority, and those are the people that have the time to go to Minneapolis and protest and mourn Renee Good and Alex, whatever his name was. I mean, these are the people that they're a small percentage, but they raise holy hell.
Let me turn your attention. We've got, by the way, our condolences to our soccer team tonight. USA goes down 4-1 to Belgium. By the way, for those that haven't heard, our World Cup dream is now gone, but they did play well, and I am grateful for the effort the boys gave, and I thought they played as good in this tournament. My son follows soccer more than I do, and he told me, he said, Dad, he said, this is the best World Cup team we've had probably in 20 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
And he was excited, but they ended the road tonight. But I want to change gears with you a little bit to overseas tonight. There's a developing situation in Israel, and I want to get your take on it. Again, I understand, and last time we talked, me and you were sort of bouncing this back and forth to each other about President Trump's comments and whether Trump was saying one thing publicly, doing another thing privately. Bibi has come out in the last few days, and I try to read between the lines sometimes with the things they're saying publicly because you just don't know, again, what's going on behind the scenes. But there's evidently a growing sentiment in Israel that they want to wean themselves off of U.S. support. And, they are being surrounded tonight, Leslie. I'm got a bad sense. Ricky Wilson said something to us at the end of the show tonight. And again, it was, thank God we got all that in before this power surge hit an outage. But before she ended, she says, we need to pray for the Middle East. And I said, because she felt like something was coming. And she's very prophetic. And I just casually said, good or bad? And she says, bad. And Trump tonight is out there sort of hinting that this Iranian negotiation ain't going too well. And you've got Turkey screaming death to America. You've got and death to Israel. Iran, the mullah's funeral yesterday, was chanting death to Israel, death to America. I just read that Pakistan has labeled and declared that Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu is a terrorist now. They've designated him as a terrorist leader. Greece is not happy with Turkey tonight because, and is not happy with Trump, I should say, because Trump bought that plane from Turkey, and it's basically squeezing Greece, and Greece has allowed the U.S. their air bases anytime we've needed them for any operation. And the question I got to you tonight, let's put ourselves in Israel's place, and let's put ourselves in Greece's place, because Israel and Greece are growing very close. If you were Israel, would you feel that your best friend is not having your back right now? And I don't, again, I'm not trying to discredit President Trump. I just think it was a bad decision. It's my opinion. I do not think it was a good decision to buy a jet from Turkey, no more than I thought it was a good decision to take Air Force One from Qatar. I know that I don't want to get into the money issue, whether it was the U.S. money or Trump's money or whatever. I just think it just sends a bad message to our friend that your enemy is now my friend. That is not how we do business with God's people. I'm sorry, we don't. That's my opinion. Tell me what Leslie Millwee's opinion is about that, because I'm going to tell you something. I feel like something's brewing. I'm with Ricky on this tonight. Something's brewing, because I saw Trump's body language today, and I'm telling you, there is something. I wouldn't doubt it if within the next few weeks we're not back over there biting.
Well, if we do that, we need to do it. We need to decimate every bridge over there, or for every time they strike something, we do tenfold. And they will, you would think now that they have to be so demoralized and so crushed But these people have nothing to lose. They do not value human life. They don't care. They will go down with the ship. It doesn't matter to them. So when you're fighting against somebody with that kind of a mindset, your valuable life against theirs, they look at it totally different. That's hard for me to wrap my head around sometimes because, as Christians, we value life and we value our spiritual being. But these people do not. So as far as the plane, you may be surprised to hear this. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't even know if it would have been anything at all if the mainstream media didn't say, oh, look, you got this from Turkey. I'll tell you what, I always go back and I always say to myself, okay, if Joe Biden did this, how would I feel?
Right.
And I don't think I would have cared that much either. And let me just say that it's not like we had a new plane. Air Force One the original is very old. It needed to be replaced. Now,
I'll agree with that.
Was that the smartest thing? Couldn't we have made it here in the USA at Boeing or gone over to England or, somewhere different? Yeah, we probably could have. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't about the bottom dollar. Trump is a man who goes after bargains. And while I certainly don't know any of those details, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a driving force in the whole thing. So,
and I understand that. I get that. No, I get that, what you're saying. But my question, again, is from that perspective, I get it. Okay, I understand. What I'm asking you to do is put yourself in Israel's place. How do you think they feel? Because I don't think it does not gender the feeling that America's got my back. And I think this is what's been generating Bibi's frustration. That speech, I don't think I've ever heard him say, we don't need America's help. Or we don't want America's help. That's the first time in my lifetime, at least, that I've ever heard an Israeli prime minister say something like that. Look, we had some scoundrels with Clinton and Bush Jr. and Obama and Biden that did not have Israel's back at all. But even in all those years, Leslie, I never heard Sharon Peres or Elon Omar or any of these liberal get on the stage and say, we don't need America's help. Bibi Netanyahu said that just 2 weeks ago, friend. Now, telling you something, there's a shift in the wind, and it's not good for this country. I want to make it clear tonight. Israel, and I know people will disagree with this, Israel will survive without America. America is not going to survive without Israel. And I know that that's not the conventional wisdom in this country with all the anti-Semitism that's raging. But I'm not speaking as a politician. I'm not speaking as somebody that just follows X. I'm speaking as a man of God, a preacher of the gospel, and somebody that knows what the Bible says about the future of that nation and the future of this one, because there is no future of this nation in the Bible. And that would suffice to say that we might better pay attention to the nation that the Bible does have a lot to say about. And that's my point. That's my point.
You know what? I totally get that. And I understand. I think I look at Trump in many ways. He can be a petulant child, and he flies off the handle, and he does things that I know in my heart he must regret later. I mean, everybody says, oh, he has no regrets. He just moves on. I have to think that, I mean, he has to have a hard shell on the outside, but I don't like to see that rift in the relationship. That bothers me a lot.
It bothers me a lot too, buddy. And look, I don't see any good coming of this if that rift continues to get bigger. And I'll tell you why. Every time there's a rift with America and Israel, our enemies and her enemies exploit both sides. They exploit us. They exploit Israel. They're going to exploit this weakness. Why do you think Turkey is raising its ugly head up tonight? Because they see a rift between America and Israel. Why would Edradron even suggest Trump buy that plane if he didn't think there was some distance between the two nations? He hates Israel. He hates America. And I just, I may be naive, but again, why deal with a country that you're allowing death to America chance and death to Israel chance over your presidential palace speaker every day, and then you tell the Turkish people, by the way, we sold America a jet. That's that's nuts, Liz. That's nuts.
Well, I know, and I think a lot of it. I think people. I'm just saying, from my standpoint, I look at it almost like it's a trade deal. And don't you know, Turkey's over in the corner, Erdogan and all of them are saying, hey, we've let you have bases here forever. You've always been able to come in and out of our country without any real limitations. We've always supported you. I always get that little voice in the back of my head. I mean, they have been a big ally for the United States forever. But
let me say this, Greece has been a better ally. And we betrayed Greece in doing this because Greece is unhappy with us tonight, too. They're unhappy with Trump. And that again is, let me just say it like this. I know that there's no right or wrong answer. I get everything you're saying. I get it. But I also get that our allies, they're very few. They're dwindling. Look, there's something about Trump that you either love him or you hate him. I never thought that Italy's Meloni would turn on him like she has in the last few months because she was his biggest supporter. And now she's his biggest critic. And that is the dynamics of things that are going on in the world right now. We live in a very volatile world system. We live in a very volatile political system. And you either love Trump or you hate him. There's no in between.
No, and he's juggling a lot of plates. That's kind of the way I look at it too. I mean, you've got to appease Greece. You've got to appease Turkey, Qatar. You've got to go there. You've got to do this for Israel. You've got to monitor the war in Ukraine and Russia and deal with Putin. I mean, I'm not making excuses, but man, is there is more going on right now. Certainly since World War II. Maybe it would equal that. I don't know.
Well, let me just say this, and we talked about this again the last time we discussed this, and me and you both agreed. There may be a possibility that me and you're going to come back on this show in a few weeks, and we're going to be laughing about the whole thing and say, well, Trump really put one over on us, and he was 10 miles ahead of us, and he had this great master plan in play. But I tell you what, right now, the Greeks don't think he's got a master plan in play. And I will tell you that Israel is not too happy tonight either. And Leslie, if I'm in Bibi's shoes, I feel the same way. I just do.
Yeah, I know. I know. And there's no question we're being pulled as a country in a million directions. We have all this. I don't care what anybody says. I heard Chuck Todd say the other day something. There's no infighting in the Democratic Party.
Oh, for God's sake.
Our tent is big enough for everyone. And I physically had to laugh out loud because he is such a joke. He needs a new barber, among other things, but that's beside the point. But he is just such an idiot talking about, how Trump his speech was so pathetic at the 250 and how he disrespected America.
Oh, for God's sake.
He couldn't enjoy it. And
well, turn it off.
Did the same. I know.
Turn it off.
Like, don't enjoy my country. Yeah, go away. I will pitch in for that plane ticket to Panama or Bermuda or wherever you want to go that's lovely and shiny, and go.
No, I'm glad you brought this up because this is where I was headed with you next before we wrap it up tonight. I thought that what I saw over the weekend in D.C., to Trump's credit, thank God it wasn't Kamala Harris in charge of this.
No.
Thank God it wasn't Joe Biden or any other Democrat. We would have been, I tell you what it would have been. It would have been Zomar Mandami's speech on a national level. Mandami embarrassed himself. That pathetic clown And he is a pathetic little man. He's not even
He
a
is.
man. He's a pathetic boy. And he is the most immature, petulant child and a communist. And I'm trying to hold my mouth because I don't want my mom to raise it from the grave tonight and wash my mouth out with soap, as she probably would if I said what I wanted to say. But I'm telling you something, I am getting pathetically sick and tired of these media types like Chuck Todd, Caitlin Collins, all this bunch, these losers, absolute losers that Chuck, Costa is the other one. Don Lemon.
Jim Acosta.
Don Lemon.
Yeah.
Mr. Fairy Tale. Trash America. The View. Sunny Holston. Over the week. You know what she said today? She said that she was afraid to walk under an American flag. I tell them all, we love our country. If you don't love our country, why in the you-know-what are you here? Get out. It's as simple as 6 letters.
When
Get
Biden
out.
was in office, guess what? I still loved my country. In fact,
I did
loved
too.
it so much. I wanted him to go away so our country could get back some sense of normalcy. So that's bull. If you can't even, if your love of your country is dictated by the flavor of the month, you've got some real mental problems.
Well, you just said it right there. No, they got mental problems. These people are mentally retarded. They're mentally ill. No, and not only there, but let me tell you this. You know, I say that, and excuse me, I shouldn't use retarded. That's a bad word because I know there are people that actually are slow, and I don't want to offend people. Not that we don't offend people all the time on this show, but we try not to do it deliberately. But I will tell you this, Leslie, I've always wondered about this. I don't think these people are that ill. They're very smart, and this is what scares me, because they know exactly what they're pushing and what they're trying to instill in the public, and they're so in discord. And for the Bible students out there, we talked about this Sunday night a little bit and Sunday morning. He that soweth discord among the brethren is one of 7 things God hates. God hates these kind of things that's tearing this nation apart. When I watched the events over the weekend in D.C., I wanted so bad to be there. We just couldn't be there this year.
Oh, it was awesome.
I would have loved to have been
phenomenal.
there. I would have loved to just taken in the fireworks and the speeches and the patriots and the feeling America's great again. And Donald Trump's not done that. God's done that. God has given us a leader, though, that loves his country. And that's the difference in a leader that loves his country and a leader that hates his country. And then you've got this socialist take to the pull to the left of the Democrats. And then you've got 90% of the Republicans are very, very proud that America's their country. And buddy, that is the seed of a civil war. That is the seed of a division that's brewing into a brouhaha here. Am I wrong about that?
Oh, no. And that's exactly how you destroy a country. It takes generations.
That's it.
We've been, indoctrinating our kids for 30 years now or more. We've now hit that second generation of everything that needs to be in place with these professors, with the politics, the mainstream media, they don't want us to be a Christian Judeo country more than anything. They want to destroy our love of God and country, and they just can't stand it. And I'm with you. I don't believe they really want that. Does Sunny Holston want us to come to her house and kick her out of her $15 million New York apartment and let it be part of a rent control thing? Of course not. These people would fight, dying and screaming, going out the door. They wouldn't do it. So I can't believe that they really want things to go that way. I mean, do you think it's all an act? Or
yes. No, I do. I think it's all an act. I think that they are very calculated in what they say. I don't think they just make this stuff up. I think they're very calculated. And Leslie, they've got an audience. They have got a group of people that feed on every word. There's people that agree with what Chuck Todd said. There's people that agree with what Jim Acosta said. Look, I read something today of an anti-Semite, and he was mocking. You just mentioned the word Judeo-Christian background. Well, he went out and said that our founding fathers, he said out of the 59 founding fathers, 52 of them were Christian, not Jewish. He said there was no Judeo background. And I remind this anti-Semite that our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, our Bill of Rights, and everything that we have called law in this country is based upon a Jewish table of stone called the Ten Commandments.
And the God of heaven, dates back to Genesis.
It dates back to Genesis. So these anti-Semites, there's a group out there, and he had several likes. I mean, thousands and thousands of people retweeted that, and thousands of people shared it and hearted it. And I wonder how many Christians did that. So these people, when they put this stuff out there, Leslie, they know what they're saying. They're not dumb. And I think, and I always said this about Joe Biden, I think we made a mistake on the right. You know, we mocked his Alzheimer's or whatever it was. And I've talked to people, and there's been, there were some people that believed that he was actually that off. I'm going to be honest with you, there was a part of me at times, it was amazing to me how when he was trashing Republicans, he had as clear a mind as you could have. When he was saying something against Christians and saying something that was blasphemous against God, it's amazing he didn't have any Alzheimer's problems. But when you sort of cornered
Satan's
him,
mouth.
Well, absolutely, it's called Satan's mouth. It's called Satan's mouth. But I go back to these voices that you just talked about. It's Satan's mouth with them too. It's amazing how the clarity they speak when they're trashing America. It's amazing how these anti-Semites are when they trash Israel. It's amazing. And then all of a sudden, when you corner it, I'm going to give you something else. I talked about it last night on the show. I was wired to the core last night. We're talking about abortion. Brandon Gill, who I think is an up-and-coming star in the Republican Party, and the Republicans are a fool if they do not hook onto this young man's train. I love him. He had a pro-abortion lady, and I'll let you wrap us up after this. He had a pro-abortion lady in front of him, and she was extolling the power of the choice of women to kill a baby. Well, Brandon Gill, in the most expert way, started reading the procedure. There were several procedures that he read, and he said, well, would you agree then? Tell me which one of these procedures that you think are so great in killing a baby. And he started reading about the sucking. They take that vacuum type thing and suck the baby's brains right out of the woman. And other times that the knife is used, sometimes they just give a woman a pill. And he said, well, which one of these abortion techniques would you approve of? She sat there stone cold silent. It's amazing how you confront them, and all of a sudden they become lockjawed and Alzheimer's patient like Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But when they are
there's no response to that. I mean,
there's not. Exactly.
There's no logical reason that anybody should be for killing someone.
Exactly.
And that's what it is. And if they are, I do think I've met women that are so in denial that they feel like if they do it before a certain time, it's humane, or if they, and I'm like, taking a pill, you're still killing a baby, And I had an argument with a young lady not terribly long ago. If the abortion pill, she said, I don't think it's bad because I take the morning after pill because I think I may be ovulating and I don't want to risk a pregnancy. So are you telling me that's abortion? And I said, wow, well, I don't honestly know. I do know that what God creates, it's only been in the last 40 or 50 years that has been available to women. Before then, if you were pregnant, you were pregnant. It was God's creation. So I have a problem with that. That is not the way God made it.
That's
so
exactly
I
right.
said, no, I don't believe in the pill. I don't believe that causing your body to go into an aggressive...
Still killing the baby, Liz.
Yeah,
still killing the baby.
It's a chemical DNC.
It's a chemical DNC.
Yeah. And so I said, and she's like, how can you say that? You don't even know if there's a baby
Yeah,
there.
you do.
I said, okay, if you don't know there's a baby there, then don't do it. It's not a
Thank,
problem.
thank you. Common sense. Common sense.
Exactly.
Isn't it amazing to you, though? No offense to your friend. Isn't it amazing
No,
how
it's
common
not really
sense is
friend,
thrown
but
out the door when they're justifying evil and wickedness and killing babies? They justify the transgenders speaking to these 5-year-olds in schools, how they justify people like Graham Platner tonight, how they justify communism and socialist candidates winning. They've got some kind of answer always for that. Isn't it just amazing how they, again, speak with such clarity to justify evil, but when you confront them and then she don't even know whether it's a baby or not,
oh yeah,
that's demonic. That's demonic, by the way, my friend.
I said, yeah, you're telling me that you're going to do anything against God's will to make sure that doesn't happen. So I said, I don't know if it's at 1 day or 1 month or 3 months. It's all evil. It's not kind of pregnant. It's not kind of maybe. This is God's will. So, and then I drew her back to Isaiah and that, God knew us before, knitted us in the mother's womb. I go through that. I said, what do you think that says? Do you think that means the baby was really already in existence, a spirit
Yes.
God had for that baby?
Yes.
And she's like, no, there's no way that you're not anything but a blob
No,
at
you're
that
not.
point. I'm like, oh, no.
No, you're not.
At that miracle of conception, you are already a spirit. You are already a person.
And you know what I believe? I believe God already knows your name in that womb. I think God, too, by his foreknowledge, already knows your name in that womb. I just do. And there's going to be blood on the hands of these doctors and these women and these men. It's not just the women, it's the men too. And I'm going to tell you who else is going to have blood on their hands is these politicians that are protecting this industry.
Oh, yeah.
And Planned Parenthood
evil.
And other organizations that are selling these baby parts. There's no deeper depth of hell than they're going to experience if they don't repent. And I'm not wishing this on them, but I'm warning them. And there's a difference in warning and judging and wishing it on them. I don't wish it on anybody, Leslie, but I say this as a close with you tonight. People had better understand. You can disagree with Chris McDonald. You can disagree with Leslie Millwee. You can have your own opinion about the world. You can have your own opinion about Israel. You can be the biggest anti-Semite you want to be. You can be the biggest Jew hater you want to be. You can hate America. You can live footloose and fancy free. You can run your mouth and trash America, trash God, trash Christians, all you want to. But I'm going to tell you something. There's an end of this life coming. And what we reap on this earth, if we don't repent of it, if it's not godly and we don't repent, we're going to sow it in eternity. And Absolutely. It's not going to be Chris McDonald sitting on that throne judging you. You're not going to be sitting on that throne judging me. But there is a God in heaven that we're going to all give an account to for what we're doing on this earth, my friend. And I'm going to tell you something. I have been sensing this in the last few days that there's going to be gallons of blood on people's hands that have led to the death of these innocents and led to the death of people. And I go back to these judges. These judges tonight that are letting these murderers go and letting these rapists go and letting these gang rapers go and letting these pedophiles go back and perpetrate more evil on this country and perpetrate more evil on the children. There is no deeper depth of hell that is awaiting them if they don't repent and turn back to God and repent of what they're doing and rule righteously and rule with law and order and not lawlessness.
Oh, absolutely. I so agree.
Is that clear enough? I think that's clear enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were singing that song in church this weekend, and I love one of the verses. It says, we already know the end of this story. And that's absolutely right. I just want to tell people, if you've ever read the Bible, if you've ever even, whether you're a Christian or not, do you not have some understanding of there is life and there's afterlife? I mean, I think we know Satan is, knows God and is afraid of God and knows what he can do and what he is going to do. And so telling me you were raised in the church or you're familiar with that, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. You can't live your life, just being a hellion and doing whatever you want on this earth and killing, and then go back and say, and I am the biggest sinner. And I think that's part of being closer to God, Chris, is the more guilt you feel for things you should have done or shouldn't have done. I always feel more guilt than I used to. And I thought, is that wisdom in my old age? No. You know what? I think I'm closer to God than I've ever been.
We talked about that this morning.
I'm more aware of who I am and what I should be doing.
Talked about that this morning on the Bible study. The closer you get to God, the more aware that you're going to be of your sinfulness, and the more aware you're going to be that you need God. The more aware that you're going to realize your inadequacy to save yourself, your inadequacy to forgive yourself, your inadequacy to deliver yourself. Because when you get into His presence, Leslie, His presence reveals our sinfulness.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes us, and that's when He can change us. When we recognize, Absolutely. That's the first step to all. See, this is, and as we wrap this up on this 250 celebration this weekend, see, most empires, we're on borrowed time. Let's just face facts. America is on borrowed time right now. But all biblical repentance, whether it's individuals or nations, must start with we have sinned. And
Absolutely.
America has got to come to that realization as a nation, not just a few. Even though I do believe that the Christian church, the Christian community, the intercessors, we can do something called identification repentance. In other words, we can stand in the gap for America and pray, because Daniel did it. He did it for Israel in Daniel chapter 9.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
It's got to take a national admittance that we're
and you've got to do it
sinning.
Consciously and and unconsciously.
Yes.
Because I just finished a Bible study with Daniel, and the amazing thing that it reiterated over and over in Daniel is how he prayed 3 or 4 times a day. And that always just moved me, the fact that he put aside whatever was happening, good, bad, or indifferent, and he focused his prayer on God. And we were talking about that at church. How about we just use Daniel as an example of, whether you're in the car, it does, say the Lord's Prayer, say the 23rd Psalm, say Psalm 103, it doesn't matter. Just make communion with God. Yes, you need to pray for people and intercession and certain things that you want God's help with, but you also just have to pray and be close to Him. You can't always be talking. You have to be listening as well.
What did you think, real quick, and I'll let you go, what do you think of the first day of Robinson's trial? Did you see any of that today? I didn't get to watch it, but I've just sort of picked up on headlines. I know that it's tough. You sort of basically said something to me before the show that you feel like it's necessary because the truth needs to get out there because of people like Candace Owens and Tucker pushing these lies, and you've already said it tonight. But do you see this going well for the prosecution?
I do. I hope they, and like I shared with you earlier, I really hope they have dotted all their I's and crossed their T's, because it will be an international sensation. It already is. Charlie Kirk was known in many, many countries across the world. And this is not just a U.S. thing. This is a Christian martyr thing. And I think people like you and I know that. I'm not sure a huge majority know that, but they do know it's vital and important. I think they have overwhelming evidence against him. I mean, his mom and dad identified him, basically. And, the dad wanted him to send a picture of the rifle if he had it, because he said, I think that's the rifle that killed Charlie. And, those are just unbelievable. Imagine as a parent going through that, saying, I think that's my kid. He's gone off the deep end the last 6 months, and he's dating a furry transgender. I don't even know if they...
Yeah.
The line is, I think as parents, it was so incredibly difficult for them to question that, know that was their son deep down. I mean, what do you think that's going to say to a jury? And they're in Utah, for Pete's sake. They have a death penalty. This is a death penalty case. So, and Robinson probably wants to go down as a martyr when you think about it. Isn't that the whole reason he killed him? He says he was full of hate and, somebody had to do it. So it'll be interesting in that regard.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. Well, listen, it's been such a good time with you again tonight on this Monday night, and I'm sure the way the world is right now, we'll probably be getting a hold of you again before the week's out. Definitely next week. Did you see those fireworks in D.C.? Was those awesome or what?
Oh, my heavens. We watched that, and we just... the magnificence of it. I love listening to Dana Perino because sometimes she's almost like got the wonder of a little child.
She does.
In the fact that,
she does.
She was like, I got to spend time with all these veterans. They told me about their experience. I was like the luckiest person in the world. And to see that, and I thought, oh, I wish I had that childlike quality. I lack that. And I grieve that I don't have that same feeling. I thought it was unbelievable, but I love the way her brain thinks, and we should all learn something from it. That's a wonderful testament for her.
Well, I got a lot of other stuff to talk to you about, but we'll save it for another time. We're late. Listen, thank you so much for being with us.
You.
And listen, be safe out there, and see you soon.
Thank you. You too.
And we'll talk to you later, hon. God bless. Leslie. Have a good night. Leslie Millwee, everybody. Put some fire in that house for tonight. Another great interview with her. And listen, it is after midnight, and I'm not going to go but about 10 more minutes. We've gone right at an hour. We came back on because we didn't get a chance to finish what we were talking about earlier tonight with Ricky. And I've done lost my train of thought from 3 hours ago. So I don't know where the power outage hit and when it did. I was talking about my dreams. But I will say this, because I got so much video to play tonight. But it's a couple of things I do want to show you real quick before we say goodnight to you. It's very troubling stuff. This was at the funeral of the mullahs today. I don't know if this is Turkey or this is Iran. I've got to find that Laura Loomer post. This was actually at Khomeini's funeral. This is President Trump. They were hanging an effigy of Trump today. That's at Khomeini's funeral. Now, if there is any goodwill that Iran's trying to muster with the Americans and get a good deal, that does not help. That does not help. And I hate to tell them, this is not Biden, this is not Clinton, this is not Obama, this ain't even Bush Jr. This is Donald Trump. You don't do stuff like that without a reaction. And that's why I think today I was watching him and listening to him. And folks, I think Ricky was on to something tonight, and I didn't even pick it up until the end when she said what she said, and then it hit me. Something's up in the Middle East. Something is brewing tonight. And we need to be praying for that. We really do, against that, or not against it, but we need to be praying for Israel. This is a couple of other things. This is Nick Sortor. And let's see, why is that not refreshing? That didn't work. Okay. This is Benjamin Netanyahu tonight talking. We got so much, again, so many videos. This is John Voight about New York, and then we're going to play a couple of other things and get out of here tonight. We're going to have plenty of video. We got a show coming up tomorrow night. Likely James Akers will be with me, Magdalene Rose. We hadn't had Magdalene on in a while. But Lori Mills could not be with us tonight. She had some dental surgery that prohibited her from being here. She's going to be back with us soon. We got to get old Brad Johnson back in here. We may pull our Brad tomorrow night and get to talk to him about the situation in the Middle East. This is
that is
John
taken
Boyd.
over New York City as a Muslim that's going to take down the city that never sleeps, the city of life's dreams, this city that our ancestors brought forth in prosperity and greatness and liberty. This city will turn into a forbidden place of darkness. The blood, sweat, and tears that the city of New York was built on will turn into a virtual refugee shelter for the radical Muslim ideology. This is now the most dangerous time for our citizens of New York. This mayor will destroy this city. We are obligated to demand our rights for our private sanctuary, our businesses, our property that we all have worked so hard for. And this 35-year-old mayor has no right dictating the rules of socialism for a city built on our highest principles with brick and stone by hardworking Americans. This must be stopped.
And he goes on there. You could find that on X. But that's a great. I love John Boyd. He's a great actor, very conservative, and loves President Trump. And he say what you want to about his acting skill. I think he's a good actor. He's been in Hollywood a long time, but he's really come to the front of defending his country here in the latter years of his life. He's Angelina Jolie's father, by the way, who is a rabid American hater. So go figure that one. This is Bibi Netanyahu tonight with Brian Kilmeade. I want you to listen to what he has to say. It's interesting. Roll the tape.
Look, Turkey is a great country, but it's governed by a man who calls openly for the annihilation of Israel. He occupies half of Cyprus, a NATO country. He's threatening Greece, another NATO country. And he talks openly about conquering Jerusalem. His foreign minister, his number two, said that the Jewish state hasn't a place among humanity. Basically, it has to be wiped out. His interior minister, said he looks forward to be the governor of Jerusalem. Well, for a regime infected by the Muslim Brotherhood, an extreme movement that hates America and chants death to America from that side of the spectrum, I don't think they should be given F-35s or the engines for their fighter jets, because that'll upset the power balance in the Middle East, which is ultimately guaranteed by Israeli air superiority and also by, I think, by America's posture in the Middle East.
And I'll agree with that 1,000,000%. And that's what he's talking about. And we do not make deals with the devil. We just don't do it. And this is the Jewish foreign minister, I should say. His comment tonight, or Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Gideon Sar. We're going to get our Gideon on soon. I hadn't talked to him in a long time. And Ruth back. Trying to get Ruth Landy, but she was tied up with stuff. But he says tonight the remarks of Turkey's foreign minister are a clear call for genocide. And they were. Basically saying that he didn't believe Israel had a right to exist. The Jewish people know all too well what happens when such words are allowed to go unanswered. The first step on the road to genocide is dehumanization. And that is what is going on. Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs in joint remarks with Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ondu Higri there. And I've been to Uganda. Actually was in Uganda in 1994. And or Rwanda, next door. We were on Uganda, but we saw some people from Rwanda. We were there the summer of that genocide where 1.5 million people were killed simply because they were Hutus or Tutsis. Anyway, not a good time there. This is Alan Dershowitz tonight with Rudy Giuliani, asking the question that I've always asked: why do Democrats vote for Jews? And let me change that. Why do Jews vote for Democrats? Why do Jews vote for the Democrats? Here's Alan Dershowitz.
It's France.
In the same city electing Rudy Giuliani and Mamdani to the same office. It is absurd. I mean, Mamdani should be the mayor of Tehran, Gaza City. But the idea that he's the mayor of New York, and by the way,
Alan.
let me compliment your people. I'm going to make a general point. Thank God for Italian Americans in New York. They voted almost unanimously against Mamdani. My people, the idiot Jews in New York who live on the Upper West Side, who live in Park Slope, who voted for Mamdani, remind me of the 7,000 Jews who voted for Hitler in 1932. Believe it or not, 7,000 Jews formed a party in 1932 and voted for Hitler, thinking he'd be good for the economy. And, Jews who vote like that, thank God we have Italian Americans and Irish Americans and other Americans
Yeah, and
who have a lot more sense than many Jewish Americans do.
And although he may not be the majority, there are a lot of very strong Jews on this issue. I mean, I read them, I see them, I talk to them, I put them on. They are livid, and they all make the same point you make.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that something has to wake them up, Alan.
Yeah, but I'm afraid, look, nothing woke them up in 1932.
Oh, please don't say that. Yeah.
Gas chambers. Of the 7,000 Jews who voted for Hitler in 32, probably 6,000 of them ended up in the gas chambers. So you'd think they'd learn their lesson, but no, they vote for Brad Lander, another self-hating Jew.
And they did. They voted for Brad Lander. They voted for all these socialists up in the upper part of New York. We're going to get Helen Q back because she's got some thoughts about that. Helen was great the other night, and she's ready to come back. By the way, we're going to save the Platner thing for tomorrow night, but to talk about that more. But before I play Fetterman's comments on that and wrap this up and get your thoughts, this is Spain tonight. This is the San Fermin Festival in Pamplona, Spain, opened with a giant banner saying, "Destroy Israel." It's not surprising from a place where all the Jews were forcibly converted, expelled, or killed. And history does repeat itself. It's what Alan Dershowitz just said, folks. Think about that. 7,000 Jews voted for Hitler in 1932. 6,000 of them likely died in the gas chambers. And does not bode well for the Jews in New York City. I predict that it's going to cause a mass exodus to leave and head to Israel in these last days. I do. This is Fetterman tonight. We're going to talk about Platner more tomorrow night. But one other thing about Belgium tonight, I know they won the World Cup game with America, but this is a little interesting footnote about Belgium. In tonight's game of U.S. versus Belgium, I will be siding with the U.S., the country that on August 15th, 1942, did not volunteer its police force to round up all 25,000 Jews of Antwerp and sent them to Auschwitz-Birkenau. The Belgian police have yet to apologize. Easy choice. The Belgians were complicit in the Holocaust. So I was rooting for the U.S. too, Mr. Rabbi, but for different reasons. But I didn't know about that footnote of history. I should. A couple of quick things, and boy, we're going to blow this thing up tomorrow night about what's going on in Maine, but I want to talk about this more tonight. Netanyahu had asked Trump to block the U.S. weapon sales to Turkey, according to Axios. Netanyahu asked Trump not to sell U.S. weapon systems for upgrading its Air Force. This comes as Turkey continues positioning itself as a hostile regional player, expanding its military. Israel's message is clear. Do not strengthen his Air Force. Do not reward a country that openly threatens Israel. And do not hand advanced U.S. capabilities to a NATO member that behaves more like an adversary than an ally. Folks, that's Common Sense 101. That is Common Sense 101. We'll talk about that more with James Akers maybe tomorrow night or Thursday. Here is John Fetterman, the voice of reason in the Democrat Party, about what happened tonight with Platner. More on this tomorrow night. Here's a preview. It's going to get worse than this. Roll tape.
Yeah, I mean, I refuse to overlook that. But honestly, I would really call Bernie Sanders to apologize for pushing this kind of predator more than anyone he helped him elect, and now apologize to the victims, especially the woman that she claimed that he raped her. So I don't know why you want to keep pushing these kinds of people. Maybe he should consider set a few out and stop pushing these kind of communists and people. And now people, like P. Hustle now, he has been credibly accused of rape. And that's fairly recent, too. That was only less than 5 years ago.
And more on that tomorrow night. Here is President Trump.
Abracadabra. Assio your communist ass.
It's late night. He says Trump is the only one that can make the Democrats hate Independence Day. Well done. Well said. All righty. It's 12:30. It's 12:30. New York Catholic Italians voted Cuomo and Silva. They did, Cleo. And Cleo is Greek, folks. And, this thing with the Greeks has been sort of at the forefront. We're going to have more on that tomorrow night and talk about the tensions. Israel and Greece are growing closer. Israel and America is growing further apart. What does that say? Greeks are not happy because Turkey is an enemy of the Greeks. And Bible students that are in my Bible class in the mornings, and I encourage all of you to come in the mornings in the Faith Network, Spirit Word Fire Network. 4 nations we talk about often that are going to play the role of the Middle East: Turkey, Greece, Egypt, and Syria. All 4 nations are in the news tonight. All 4 nations are in the news tonight. We need to look up our redemption draweth nigh. Our redemption draweth nigh. And we're going to talk about this more tomorrow and so forth. If you got any questions, any comments, please put them in the house. And there was something I saw. Chrissy, you earlier tonight, I don't know if you're still out there, but I'll read Chrissy's comments. She says, I think Mitch McConnell is probably dead or brain dead. They're lying about what's going on with him. I believe that. I believe that they're lying. They've always lied. And, it's a disgrace. This, if he is dead and they've hid this from the public, whoever did that and whatever powers of Congress hid it, they need to be prosecuted. He is holding power and he's not even alive. That's how low the Congress has gotten. That's how low the Senate's got. They've allowed a dead man to be casting votes. And who knows? I mean, to me, that's illegal. That's against the Constitution, but that's illegal. You can't do that. That's like somebody dead voting at a voting booth with somebody using a dead man's identity. So, Chrissy, I don't disagree. I believe David Harris. David Harris is not. I've met David in person, and he's not a loon. He's not somebody out there. And I know David. I know this much about David Harris. The short time I met him, David is not going to put his reputation on the line for something that he cannot absolutely prove that's true. And Laura Loomer, I've met Laura too, and Laura is a fine journalist. She's a little out there on the edge. She's got her edge to her, and that's what makes Laura Loomer. I mean, that's what makes Laura Loomer Laura Loomer. She gets in people's faces that nobody else would dare try to do. But she basically is out there reporting tonight that she's had sources in the White House tell her that Mitch McConnell is dead. So when you get up in the morning and you see this story, don't be surprised. I'm just surprised they ain't announced it sooner. I'm with you, Chrissy. I believe he's already dead. But that's me, and that's just an opinion. We're not telling you we can prove that. That is an opinion. That is an opinion. Anyway. Any comments? Good to see Wesley Hill in the house tonight. Let me see what we got over on Facebook tonight. We are, again, at least we made it through this one. My question, Pat and Deb, is Dolan says if he's dead, has nothing but said you would think Trump would say something about it. Well, Pat and Deb, that's a good question. And again, these are just rumors. I mean, this is David Harris is reporting what Laura Loomer's reporting. Who's reporting? Somebody in the White House. So again, we're not saying he is. I'm going to make it abundantly 1,000,000% clear before everybody leaves the show and says, Chris said last night Mitch McConnell's dead. No, Chris ain't saying that. What I'm saying, it is being rumored and reported by David Harris. And I even quoted the source. So if it's wrong, go to David Harris. Don't come to here. We're just telling you this out there. But I will tell you, it is reported, and we have confirmed the fact he has been in a coma since June the 14th. That is fact. Even if he's not dead and he's in a coma, he don't need to be making votes from his coma-induced state. And I'm with you. Trump would probably say something if it was legit, unless there's reasons why they're delaying it till tomorrow. We'll see. I think in the next few days will tell the tale. I'll just say it like that. The next few days will tell the tale. Chris Davis, the anti-Semitism is just the past repeating itself. We are living out end time prophecy. Of course, we are, Chris. That anti-Semitism is going to get worse. By the way, Leslie made was it Leslie or Ricky tonight? These Candace Owen types and these Tucker Carlson types, folks, they again, you may call them, crazy and insane. They're acting like that. They're not dumb though. They know exactly what they're doing. I've never seen a more disgusting individual than Candace Owens. And I'm going to say something tonight. You Christians, so-called, that post her stuff, you should be ashamed too. You should be ashamed too. You that share her stuff out like it's gospel, you that share her lies out, you're just as culpable as her. You're just as culpable as her. And I'm going to tell you something. She has done nothing but disrespect Erica Kirk, disrespected the memory of Charlie Kirk. We're coming up on a year, folks. You realize we're a year coming up here in September of his death. And while I've got mixed emotions about the trial being aired publicly, the reasons why they're doing it, I'm all in for, because hopefully it will debunk 100% of this garbage that has come out of this demonically possessed individual's mouth of lies. Satan is the father of lies. Do you understand that tonight? I think my audience does. I think you all do. But I want to say it again. To you so-called believers out there who thinks Candace is God, and you think that she is fighting the good fight of faith. No, you are fighting the fight of Satan. You are sowing discord among the brethren. You are dividing this nation. You are tearing people's reputations down like it's cotton candy or fair time. Let me tell you something. You're going to be held so accountable for that. But the very fact that many of you claim you're spiritual and you don't have the discernment of a pig to not share that stuff out, you should be more ashamed than she is. And that's Chris's 2 cents on this Monday night, late night, now Tuesday. And it's 12:30, and I'm about to get out of here before I get myself in more trouble. We ain't got to the good stuff yet this week. We ain't got to the good stuff yet. But we go into I'll amen myself. I tell you what, I'll amen myself. Cleo says Mitch could be on the life support and waiting for his wife to return from China. That's possible, Cleo. That's a good point. I didn't know she was in China, but that would make sense that they're waiting for her to get back to make an announcement. But again, the very fact he's in the coma should preclude him from being able to vote. I mean, that's crazy. That's just nuts. They did the same thing with Dianne Feinstein. I mean, the woman was one step in the grave and hanging on to her seat in Congress when she should have been gone months before, stepped down and resigned, and they had put somebody else in their place, but they just don't do that. Look, I'm surprised Nancy Pelosi's retiring in January. I figured she'd do the same thing, hang in there till the very last day. Chuck Schumer's going to do that. And there's others, these demagogues, that's what we call them, demagogues, that try to hold on to power. Juliet, I don't think Candace flipped. Good to see you tonight, by the way. I've got a slightly different take on Candace. I think that's how she's always been. I was telling people back when she was the flavor of the Republican Party that she was a fraud. There was other people that I knew were frauds too, and Christians were sharing her stuff out. And she sits in federal prison tonight for fraud. And I don't want to get into who that is, but I knew it was a fraud. Everything she said come out of her mouth was lies. But people were thinking it was true. And Candace, I've always there was something about her from the beginning that I never trusted. And I felt it in my gut. And my gut, I was telling my wife tonight, sometimes my gut is right, sometimes it's wrong, but most of the time, my gut is right about things. I was right about Candace, and I was right about this other person too. But I don't think she flipped. I think she just showed you her true colors. It's good to see you tonight. I'm glad you're doing well enough to be with us tonight. It's good to see you, friend. Much love and be blessed, and we're praying for you always. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is another one. That's a great example, Cleo. Ruth Bader did the same thing, didn't she? Right up to the very day she died on the bench. Anyway, good to see everybody here at Hunters in the House tonight. Anything else? Joan says we're dealing with evil in the world, the leaders, but it's not flesh and blood we're dealing with. We need to pray. Of course, Joan, I'll agree with that. We're not dealing with flesh and blood. It's good to see Debbie Courtright back tonight. Debbie, happy birthday to you. Belated birthday for friend. Bless you. Good to see you tonight, you and Dean. God bless you guys up in Pennsylvania. And always a pleasure to hear from you, my friend. Bless you, bless you, bless you. All right, folks, listen. We're out of time. It's midnight 30. I will be back tomorrow. We ain't got to the good stuff yet. And I'm gonna call the 1-800 computer exorcist line tonight. I am going to bring in an exorcist to my house, and we're gonna cast the devil out of this machine and that machine and my electrical system in this house. So hopefully we will not have no more oopsie daisies like we've had Sunday morning and earlier tonight. This is almost getting comical. But anyway, we're glad you've been with us tonight, and we're glad we survived. We want to thank Leslie Millwee. We want to thank Ricky Wilson for 2 great shows tonight. If you enjoyed them, put some fire in that house. And we will be back in the morning. Spirit Word Fire Network. Actually, later on this morning. It's 12:30, so we'll be here around 11. And God bless you guys, and we appreciate you being with us tonight. God bless you. God bless your families. Our sympathies to our soccer team for losing to Belgium tonight. They shouldn't have lost to Belgium. They were the better. USA had a better team. We just didn't play good tonight. That just goes to show you that on any given night, any given Sunday, if you're not on your game, you can get beat in sports. And we wasn't playing right tonight. I could tell the energy wasn't there. But a good run for the Americans in the World Cup this year. And thank God for these. One thing I've noticed, a lot of these foreigners have basically said that they came over to America expecting to find what the media was portraying about our country as a bad country. Many of them are leaving. All of them are leaving with the attitude that America's a great nation. A good nation, and not the lies they were told by the media. We had a local television station interviewing some foreigners, and they were extolling how that they were so enjoying the World Cup and enjoying the atmosphere in Knoxville, and we were hosting some World Cup things here, and they were enjoying the atmosphere the World Cup brought. That should tell you not to listen to the media. That should tell you not to listen to the media, and not to listen to some other folks too. I'll leave it at that. God bless you. God bless your families. And God bless this great nation of America. Oh, we're going to get to the good stuff this week. Get some rest out there. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed. And I will see you back here tomorrow. Good night from the McFiles. Happy 250th America still. Enjoy your country, folks. Be grateful you're an American. Be grateful you're Christian. Be grateful you're free tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.